What's up, guys? This is Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down some big pieces of news that are coming out that are affecting Tesla and what's happening with the overall market as the market's looking very parabolic and the setups look very, very bullish so far. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire community as a whole. Anyways, if you look at Tesla so far, as you guys can tell, we're just bouncing and bouncing and bouncing off this trend line. We're looking quite bullish. As long as we don't lose the trend line, we could continue to reaccumulate and start pushing for the 340s. So overall, we're doing a great job at holding up, and there is upside potential in Tesla stock. Now, we could change course if we end up losing 326, but so far there's no sign of this, and Tesla's still making higher lows looking more bullish. So the question is, what's happening to Tesla? Wedbush said that Tesla's going to likely outperform the market, which is some good news. And the price price ratio is kind of flat right here. Tesla's performing quite equally with the market, at least right now. But as the market's pushing to new all-time highs, this could greatly benefit Tesla if the trend continues. Now, when it comes to seasonality, Fridays are known for being green about 49.8% of the time. And then September tends to be kind of like a, flat month for Tesla. We're green only about 47% of the time. But October does tend to be a little bit weaker before November and December tend to be a lot stronger. So I hope that's as clear as possible. And then for now, Tesla's still holding up quite decently. Now, there was some good news that came out. Tesla is going to be releasing its robotaxi app for iOS users. That is fantastic news with this coming out. And the Android version is going to be coming out very soon as well, according to Tesla. The robotaxi service is currently available in Austin and San Francisco. So that's great news. I think by San Francisco, they're referring to like the Bay Area, San Francisco region. And then I'm going to talk about this first before I talk about that chart. When it comes to the robotaxi, this is what the X page posted. The robotaxi app is now available to all. You could download to join the waitlist to expand access very soon. So you guys can see this app looks like an Uber or Lyft app where you can just mark your spot for pickup, and then it's going to take you to your destination. And then it shows that the price is $4.20, which is pretty funny. That's very affordable compared to like Uber or Lyft. So I think that's very awesome for Tesla. Now, I do believe in some areas, and sometimes they have to increase the price to like $6.90. Once again, Elon Musk's favorite numbers, but still quite affordable and very, very awesome in my opinion. Now, what's going to happen is they're expanding the overall robotaxi in Austin, Texas. The geofence location is just growing. And then they're starting to expand in the Bay Area region, which I think is very awesome. Soon it's going to be available in Nevada and then Arizona and more states as Tesla's working on filings and regulations. So that's very, very awesome, awesome news in my opinion. Now we're seeing some headlines coming out about Tesla's sales. As you could tell, Tesla's sales for the last 2 quarters are still quite weak compared to what we saw in 2024 and during previous quarters. However, I suspect that there could be an improvement in Q3 because we're approaching the end of the EV tax mandate. So the tax credit mandate, which gives users that tax credit of $7,500, that in turn is going to be coming to an end thanks to the big beautiful bill at the end of September. So I think in the US there could be a big surge in sales as people try to solidify that deal before it expires, before the overall tax credits come to an end. So that's very, very important. And I think that's going to once again affect their sales. So there could be a big improvement in the US. If the Chinese sales are just, the same as before and the US sales are so much stronger, this could be very, very good news as well. So hopefully we get decent sales and we see a slight improvement in Q3. We'll see how it ends up going. For now, from a technical standpoint, okay, Tesla is holding up very, very nicely. We're still holding our key supports. I mentioned in my previous video that Tesla's going to see some consolidation, then a push towards the end of the day. And that's what happened so far. As of right now, we're just bouncing and bouncing and bouncing off this trend line. As long as we don't end up losing any major supports, we could continue to push for the 340s. And I see potential in Tesla to go higher. But whether we go higher depends on two factors. It depends on Tesla news. So Tesla's individual pieces of news could affect the share price. And it's going to be affected by the overall market. If the market suddenly gets a massive rug pull, of course, Tesla could come down. But if the market continues to rally to new highs, this could greatly benefit Tesla as well because of how the algorithms adjust. So what's affecting the market and Tesla for tomorrow? Tomorrow is going to be Friday, September 5th, 2025. At 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have non-farm payrolls and our unemployment data. That's going to be very important. We also have governmental payrolls for the time being. So look and see some volatility once this data comes out at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If the data is decent and it helps the market push more, just hypothetically, we're looking for new all-time highs on SPY and the QQQ. Well, the QQQ is going to be approaching the highs, and SPY is going to continue to rally for the 650s. 650, then 652 and 655 are the bullish targets if this continues. But if we reject and trend back down below 646, we could once again return to like 644 depending on the data. For now, SPY and the QQQ look bullish. They're actually breaking out right now. We're going to see if we could go a little bit higher, and that in turn could help Tesla try to retest 340 tomorrow. As long as we don't lose any major support, Tesla has potential to go higher. Also, we had Christopher Waller from the Fed come out, and he is saying that there's going to be gradual cuts coming by the Fed. Of course, they're going to wait and see what happens with the data, but he is saying that the Fed is going to likely be cutting in September, and that is quite bullish for the markets. So the market likes the fact that Christopher Waller is saying that. That is bullish news as well. President Trump and his team are also asking the Supreme Court to come out and look at the tariffs case. Don't forget that the Court of Appeals came out from the US and they basically said that the law that President Trump used to impose the tariffs, to give him the power to do so, didn't truly give him that power, at least according to what they're saying. So that's why President Trump is asking the Supreme Court to look at the case as soon as possible. So despite that, President Trump is trying to sign deals as soon as possible. He's now imposing 15% tariffs on Japan for all goods coming from Japan. And for most goods that were shipped after August 7th, they're going to be facing a confirmed 15% duty according to the order. That's some more news that's coming out. So what's happening is President Trump could still do this. He can still impose more tariffs for the time being. But starting in October, that's when things start to change. I think October 14th is the deadline. That's when, once again, a lot of the tariffs are going to be invalidated. So before that date, President Trump wants the Supreme Court to review the decisions, and we'll see if they end up giving him the emergency powers or not, right? This is the law from 1977, giving him those emergency powers. Will that work in his favor or not? We'll have to wait and see. Currently, the market is neutral. It's not too fearful, not too greedy. It's in the middle. Momentum is at neutral, and we're going to see if that becomes more greedy. The put to call option ratio is at greed. It's going up a bit, and the VIX is dipping, looking bearish as the market looks bullish. On top of this, I want to add on that as far as the market's going, we have Lululemon announcing earnings right now. The share price is currently down because they ended up cutting their guidance. Not the best of news for them. Last but not least, for tomorrow, we have over 130 or 235,000 of these calls expiring and over 545,000 of these puts expiring, putting our total at a 2.33 put to call option ratio and 641 at max pain. Will that cause a squeeze or does the market come back down? We'll just have to wait and see. But as far as Tesla's going, let's zoom out and talk about what the trends suggest. So if you look at the daily time frame, Tesla had a more bullish daily close. Notice that there were times where Tesla got bullish daily closes, and we tried to go a little bit higher. This happened many times. So that could be indicative of more upside for Tesla. I think the odds do favor that for tomorrow. It does depend on the unemployment numbers coming for tomorrow and any pieces of news involving Tesla. But for now, the chart favors the upwards direction. You could also argue that although this is kind of sloppy, this sort of looks like a slanted inverse head and shoulders here, which could help us go a little bit higher. Now, if you want to be a bear, just hypothetically, you want to see Tesla basically come back down and lose this white trend line, taking us back down below 338, or sorry, 330 and then 328 or below. That's the bearish case. The bullish case is going to be we test 340 and hold it. If that holds, we're looking for 345 plus. My guts tells me that we're trying to hold this trend. We're bouncing and bouncing and bouncing off of it. As long as we hold this trend, we're going to be favoring essentially the 340s. So I think the odds favor basically consolidation for tomorrow, then an attempts to push for the low 340s. I think Tesla could be looking for 342.5 or above, as long as we don't lose any major support. Now that's based off technical analysis. And technical analysis works most of the time, but not always, as it also depends on our data, our news, and other factors like that. So we'll see what ends up happening. As far as SPY is going, I just want to mention that it's looking quite strong right now. Are we about to reject here? Do we continue to rally? The bears are going to argue that we're testing this resistance right here and we're about to come back down. If we lose 646 tomorrow, we could turn back down if we get bad data to 644. But if we continue to break out, you're looking for 650, 652, and 655 as our bullish targets. The daily time frame on SPY is looking more bullish, so it's favoring the 650s. And as long as we don't end up losing 646, we could be continuing to break out. So I think the daily looks quite good on SPY, and we're favoring once again new all-time highs for the 650s. So the odds favor that SPY is going to try to go higher for 650 plus, but it depends on this data, so we'll see just to be safe. We look very parabolic unless we get a rejection right here. Watch 650 is a tough resistance, but we're going to see if we break it. We might test it tomorrow, and hopefully we try to break this to go higher. For now, the chart looks bullish. I also want to add that for the September correction, we're not ready for it yet. So we can't turn bearish until we get confirmation, and we need to wait and see if that ends up being the case. For now, we're bullish, so we're going to see if this continues for 650. I think we're doing a great job. On the QQQ, we're looking quite bullish. Now, if we hypothetically end up losing around 572, we could be dipping to 570. But if we could break 576, we're looking for an attempt for 578. I believe this is going to be going for 578 for a little bit more upside. Do we reject and turn back down there, or do we just continue to break out? As of right now, look for 578. If that breaks, we could be going even higher. We're going to see if we're going to hold this head and shoulders, or if we're about to get a big rejection off of it. Anything could happen in this market. It's very tricky and full of manipulation. But we do favor a little bit more upside for 578 on the QQQ, and we'll see if we reject where the right shoulder is. We'll see what happens with this data. So that's going to be another very, very big factor affecting things. So be very, very patient, at least nonetheless. For the IWM Russell 2000, we're also looking decent. Now it depends. Can we take out 238s to push for the 240s, or do we get a rejection? We have a left shoulder, a head, and then a right shoulder right here. If we can't break out to 238, we could kind of turn back down. But if we break this, we're looking for 240. So be very, very careful right here as we have a big test coming. I do want to mention, however, when you zoom out of the IWM, we have a larger inverse head and shoulders like pattern. So this is favoring that if we break 238, we easily push for 240, then 245. The chart does favor upside on the bigger time frames, but it depends. Is the short-term head and shoulders going to pan out or not? We could just break out to new all-time highs from here. On ES, we're looking bullish. If we lose 6,500, we could be dipping back down to 6,470. But as long as 6,500 holds, we're going to be favoring 6,525 as our targets. The 4-hour looks more bullish as we're making higher lows, so we do favor upside. But we'll see what happens depending on these different factors. On NQ, if we lose 23,000, 500, we could be dumping a lot more. It depends, though. I do want to mention this kind of resembles like an inverse head and shoulders here. So we're favoring 23,800 as our target. So to me, NQ still looks more bullish, and we could be looking for a bounce tomorrow, which could greatly benefit Tesla. Bitcoin looks decent. There's an inverse head and shoulders like structure here. If we continue to break out, we're looking for an attempt for 112,000 plus. If we lose 109,500, we could be dumping, but so far we're favoring 111,000 plus. Tesla's bouncing off this trend line of support. As long as we don't end up losing basically 335, we favor consolidation and an attempt to push for 342 or above. I think we're holding up quite nicely. Nvda has a nice accumulation. We could be looking for 173 as our resistance. We're going to see if this breaks. I see some upside potential, at least nonetheless. For Aapl, we're looking more bullish. If we end up losing 238, we could be dipping back down to 235. But as long as we hold this, we could continue to push for 242. I think that Aapl looks more bullish, and we're doing a great job, at least thus far, at holding up. For others out there, we have Netflix. Netflix is once again forming a nice cup and handle like structure. So we're favoring 1,280 as our potential targets. As long as we don't lose major support, we're favoring more upside. So Netflix is looking quite good. MSTR looks decent as long as we don't lose 100. This support right here at 325. I think we're favoring a test of 335 instead. We're going to see if we reject, but there is upside potential. Sales is making lower highs. As long as we don't lose 61, we're going to be favoring a move back down to essentially 60. Supermicro is holding up well. Nice double bottom, so we could be favoring an attempt to push for 41.3. There is upside potential as long as 40 does not break. Palantir wants to break 156. If that's the case, we're looking for an attempt for 158. So I think there's upside potential. Rivian is looking for essentially 13.75. If that breaks, we're looking for the 14 area. SoFi is looking more bullish. We're going to be favoring basically the 26 area as well. I think it's holding up quite nicely. There's upside potential here. AMD is favoring 162.63. If that breaks, we're looking for 164. ARM is going to be favoring essentially 137 as we have a nice double bottom here, so it's also favoring 137. PayPal is looking for an attempt for 69. I think this could bounce temporarily. Coinbase is also going to be favoring basically 309 or above, so I think this is holding up quite well. Amazon looks quite good. We're looking for essentially 236. We're going to see if this breaks. If so, we're looking for 238. So for now, I see some upside potential. Meta is looking more bullish, favoring basically 755 or above. It's still holding up well as long as we don't do 748. Google's looking bullish. As long as we don't lose 230, we're going to be favoring 235 plus. And Microsoft is looking more bullish. As long as we break 508, we're looking for a attempt for 510. For a few more, we have the VIX. We got a rejection on the VIX. This could be dipping back down to like 14.5. That's a sign the market may be going higher. The 10-year is dipping, which is bullish for stocks. The dollar could be retesting 98 flat. And crude could be also dipping back down to 63 as the market remains more bullish. So in essence, the market is looking bullish. We're still favoring upside. We're going to see if we get a rejection off this resistance or not, depending on this data that comes out. But if we continue to break past 650 on SPY and the QQQ continues to break past, 578, we could be looking for new highs. And as the market pushes higher, this could help Tesla push as well. I do think we consolidate at these levels tomorrow to start things off. There's going to be some chop, but then as time goes on, we could be looking for 342 on Tesla and some more upside as Tesla's forming a nice accumulation. And I think we're holding up quite well for the 340, so there is potential to push even more. So with that being said, I see potential in the charts to continue the push that we're on. I think Tesla's holding up very, very nicely. And I just want to say that when it comes to the news about the potential correction that could be coming in September, it is still very possible, as seasonality does suggest that's going to likely happen. But as of right now, there's no sign of it yet. I do think it's going to likely happen eventually, but we don't have confirmation of it starting yet. So that means that we can't basically just start shorting the market blindly. We can't just jump into shorts and expect the market to crash when we want it to. The best thing to do is just follow the trend, watch your price action, watch your levels, and we're going to see what ends up happening as time goes on. For now, the bulls have a bigger edge, so follow the trend in front of you. I think that Tesla could also follow the bulls. We're holding up quite well, and we might see consolidation in the morning before pushing for the 340s. So for now, we're just going to play the chart in front of us, and we're just going to be playing what we see. Could the market change directions? Yes, it can in a couple of weeks, but I don't know exactly when it's going to happen because the market's very, very tricky to predict sometimes. And for now, we do look a bit more bullish. As you guys know, we don't always know what's going to happen tomorrow or next week with the news and all this data. The market could completely flip when you least expect it. But the best thing I can really tell you is just follow the trends, watch what data comes out, and follow the price action in front of you, and you guys still have very, very good opportunities. For example, we called more upside potential in SPY, the QQQ, and Tesla, and all of that panned out at least for today. So we could still follow the trends in front of us and play the chart short term, and I still think there's upside potential for the short term, and we'll see what ends up happening from there. We'll take it one step at a time. Thank you all so much for listening. I'll be back tomorrow before market open for another update. Until then, I wish you all nothing but the best, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you for listening, and peace out.